If living with family bothers you so much, maybe you should just leave, my mom said. Real calm, like she was offering me a choice and not kicking me out of my own home. Meanwhile, I'd been footing $11,400 worth of bills while they crashed at my place rent-free for nearly a year. 10 full months of me cooking meals, cleaning up after everyone, and even giving up my home office so my brother could have his own space. All I did was ask for a little breathing room, and her response? We're your family. Act like it. That night, I didn't sleep in my bed. I ended up in the car. Come morning, I made one quiet bank transfer. Nothing flashy, just a few taps and a confirmation code. She had no idea, but in that moment she'd written her own exit notice. It all circled back to her line. If you don't like living with family, you can leave. Like she was handing down some kind of wisdom instead of brushing me off. I stood there, soaked to the bone, holding a bag of groceries I'd just carried up 3 flights of stairs through a rainstorm. My hoodie clung to me, my knees throbbed, and my phone kept buzzing with work messages I'd ignored all day so I could scrub the kitchen clean after my brother trashed it again. And that's what I got for my trouble, her brilliant solution to our conflict. No thank you for bringing in the food. No apology for screaming at me the night before when I dared ask for a bit of privacy in the only room that still felt halfway mine. Just that same line. Then she twisted the knife. You should be grateful you've got a roof over your head, she said, turning away like she just won some argument. I wanted to laugh. That roof? I paid for it. All $11,400 of it. That was the total: rent, Wi-Fi, groceries, gas, water, streaming services, and the full electric bill when they skipped out on it last winter. They were staying in my apartment. My name was on that lease. It was my credit on the line. But they kept calling it our place. And somehow, that meant I was supposed to give even more. And honestly, the worst part? I let them. I gave up my quiet office so Derek could have a spot to game without distractions. I cooked dinner most nights. Ran the vacuum. Scrubbed the bathroom. Even bought my mom's allergy meds when she didn't feel good and didn't want to deal with the insurance hassle. I did all that. Without complaint. Because that's what family does, right? But the second I asked for an hour to myself each night, just 60 minutes to close my door and not hear TikTok videos blasting through the walls, she threw that same line back at me. We're your family. Act like it. That night, I didn't bother going to bed. I didn't even go back inside. I stayed in the car. My feet froze on the rubber mat, and the back seat felt like it was jabbing metal into my spine. I laid there under an old moving blanket, staring up at the roof of the car, wondering how I'd ended up the villain in a home I was paying for. When the sky started to lighten, I got out, walked to a nearby gas station, and used the last $5 in my Venmo to buy coffee. Then I made that one quiet transfer. It didn't take much. A few taps. A code. That was it. She didn't know it yet, but her time there was up. They had moved in 10 months ago, supposed to be temporary. That's what Mom said in that sugary voice she saved for when she needed something. Just until your dad gets through surgery. Just until your brother wraps up the semester. I agreed. Stupid me, I said yes. The lease was mine. I had the biggest room. I'd worked 5 years in finance to afford that place, and for once in my life, it felt like I'd carved out something that was truly mine. I had a home office with a view, a bed that didn't dip in the middle, and a kitchen with sharp knives and clean counters. 2 weeks after they moved in, all of that vanished. Dad claimed the recliner like a throne. Left a permanent dent in it, the exact shape of his disapproval. The TV stayed on around the clock. Mom turned the pantry into her own personal shrine. Out of nowhere, religious magnets showed up on my fridge, and she started labeling my food. Don't touch Mom's yogurt. Like I was the guest. And Derek? He just took my office like it was owed to him. Didn't even ask. Bro, finals are wrecking me. I need a study spot, he said, already dragging in his monitor before I could respond. He was 23, still doing online classes. Flunking 2 of them. I asked if he could keep the noise down after 10 so I could be ready for early meetings. His answer? It's not just your place, man. Chill. By month 3, I was making every meal because apparently frozen food wasn't up to anyone's standards. I was paying every bill because we were still waiting on Dad's disability check. I was cleaning a bathroom I shared with a grown man who acted like soap disappeared on its own. And yet they still acted like they were doing me a favor. Like I should be thankful they were there. Then came the first big slap in the face. It was a Tuesday. I was late for a Zoom call and couldn't find my charger. Derek had taken it, again. When I knocked on the door to my old office to ask for it, he didn't even pause his game. Dude, I told you, stop knocking like that. You're stressing out my squad. I just stood there stunned. In my own apartment. Asking for my own stuff. Mom poked her head out from the kitchen and said, Honey, let him focus. He's got a lot on his plate. Like I didn't? I was busting out 12-hour shifts to keep 4 adults afloat. But nobody noticed that. Then came the kicker, Facebook. A picture popped up one night, tagged by my aunt. A family barbecue. In my living room. My grill. Dad smiling with a beer, Derek with his arm wrapped around some girl I'd never seen before. And the caption? Family is everything. Nothing more sacred than being under one roof together. I wasn't in the picture. I was in my room, buried in deadlines, editing someone else's budget report for the 3rd time that week. No one told me about the get-together. No invite. No plate saved. Just comments rolling in. So happy you're all reunited. Your boys look so grown up. What a beautiful home. And Mom's reply to one? We're blessed. It's ours, but it feels like heaven. Ours. That was my breaking point. But not theirs. Because after that, they really doubled down. Derek started using my Uber account. I didn't even notice until I got a $92 charge for a 2 a.m. ride. He swore it wasn't him. Until I showed him the drop-off address on the receipt. Then he shrugged and said, You make 6 figures. You're really sweating the small stuff? I asked Mom about it. She just sighed. You know how hard it is for him to ask for help. Just let it go. Then Dad chimed in, saying, You're getting bitter. I didn't raise you to be selfish. I couldn't even argue back. I was too busy staring at my savings account, watching it shrink day by day like a slow leak you can't plug. And then came the lowest blow, the family group chat. It started innocent enough. Derek sent memes. Mom shared blurry photos of the cat. Dad tried to be funny. Until one night I saw it. A photo of me, passed out at my desk. Taken through the crack in my door. Captioned, Look at this guy. Works all day and still can't afford to move out. Dozens of laughing emojis. A reply from my cousin. Bro looks like a sad office NPC. Someone even turned it into a GIF. I just stared at it. 20 solid minutes, not a single blink. Then I got up, phone in hand, and walked into the living room. Derek was cracking up over something on his laptop. Mom was busy with her crocheting. Dad had his feet kicked up, glued to the TV. I said, Who took this? Dead silence. So I asked again, slower this time. Who took the photo? Derek gave a shrug like it was no big deal. Relax, man. It's just jokes. Dad didn't even glance my way. Don't act like a baby. It's family. And then Mom, cool as ever, sipped her tea like it was fine wine. You're always so sensitive, she said. Maybe if you got more sleep, you wouldn't look like that. That night, I pulled out the lease agreement, the one they'd never bothered to read. The one with my name, and only mine, on it. That's when something cold settled in my gut. Not only did they treat me like a damn servant, but deep down, they really thought I wouldn't do a thing about it. Next day, I dug up my old external hard drive. I had forgotten about this folder I started back during lockdown. Titled simply, Evidence. Inside? Screenshots. Spreadsheets. Rent receipts. Voice notes. And audio clips, like one from back in March. Mom's voice clear as day. Don't tell him we used the rent money for Derek's laptop. He'll just get dramatic. I had it all backed up. Then I checked the Wi-Fi router logs. Turns out Derek had been using my email to sign up for shady crypto accounts. I called him out on it. He denied it, of course. Until I played a voice recording, customer service call, his voice, my name. That shut him up real quick. They crossed the line. But I didn't scream, didn't yell. Not yet. I just quietly backed up every file. Sent copies to my cloud, one to a private email only I could access, and another to a lawyer friend. Then I did the next thing. I messaged the landlord. Told him I'd be moving out at the end of the month, and I wouldn't be going alone. I'd be taking the lease with me. He didn't know it yet, but Derek had just lost his little gamer cave. Mom was about to lose her yoga nook. Dad? No more recliner. No more cable. And when they asked why, I'd show them that photo. The caption. Every smug little emoji they slapped on it. The knock came at 7:18 in the morning. Way too early for anyone in that house to be up. But me? I was already dressed. Coffee in hand. Been waiting for this day for 2 whole weeks. Derek shuffled out of my old office, hair sticking out like a mop, eyes still half closed. Bro, can you get that? I was up late. You might want to be up now, I said calmly. What? He blinked, confused. Then the second knock came. Louder. At the door stood 3 people. Mr. Holbrook, our landlord, clipboard in hand. Officer Pennington, local badge, calm but serious. And a woman in a navy blazer, someone from the housing board. Derek opened the door and nearly dropped his Red Bull. Good morning, Mr. Holbrook said without smiling. We're here to inspect the premises. Tenant complaint. Derek looked at me like a deer in headlights. Complaint? He croaked. Yeah, I said, stepping forward. Seems someone filed a complaint about illegal activity and tenant abuse under my name. I didn't flinch. Because I already knew who'd done it. 3 nights back, I'd gotten an email from the rental board. An anonymous report had been filed, accusing me of overcrowding, verbal abuse, even theft. But here's the thing, guess whose IP address it traced back to? Derek's. I printed out the full server trace and clipped it into a folder. That folder? Now sitting in Mr. Holbrook's hands? Officer Pennington turned toward me. You're the leaseholder? Yes, sir, I said, pulling out my ID and a copy of the lease. Leaseholder. Utilities in my name. Rent's always paid on time. Got bank statements too, if needed. He glanced over at Derek. And these folks? They live here, how? Derek stammered. They're, family. They're not on the lease. I cut in. Holbrook flipped through his clipboard. That's correct. Only one name here, yours. That's when the yelling started. Mom came out in her robe, curlers in her hair. What's going on? Who are these people? Why are strangers in my house? Your house? Holbrook snapped. Ma'am, this property is leased solely to your son. You're here without authorization. She blinked like she'd been slapped. But we're family. Officer Pennington stepped in. Do you have any documentation showing you live here? Mail? A lease addendum? Anything? Dad wandered in next, shirtless, looking like someone just stepped on his golf game. You can't just barge in here. It's not your home, I said quietly. It's mine. At least it was. Then I turned to Derek. I know you filed that complaint. His face twisted up. I didn't. I handed the printed trace data to the housing board rep. Match your device. Same day you borrowed my charger. Again. Officer Pennington looked it over, nodded, then turned to Holbrook. This clears it up. Holbrook closed his clipboard. They've got 48 hours to vacate. After that, I'll file formal eviction. And this visit gets noted. That's when it hit them. Derek turned ghost white. Mom collapsed onto the couch like her legs gave out. Dad's fists clenched tight. You're destroying your family, he barked. No, I replied, calm as ever. You did that the night you laughed at me in the group chat. When you made me a meme. When you told me to leave if I didn't like it here. I walked toward the door. Good news. I left. Then I held up a second folder. But not before pulling every financial record, every chat, every voice memo. I tapped my phone. Dad's voice filled the room. Let's just drain him. He makes good money. He owes us. We raised him. Then Mom's voice. Don't tell him about the laptop. Or the crypto stuff. He gets dramatic. Derek lunged for my phone. Officer Pennington stepped between us. I suggest you calm down, sir. Then came the final nail. Mr. Holbrook looked up from his notes. So, you're not renewing the lease? I nodded. Correct. He turned to the rest. That means none of you have a legal right to return. Locks will be changed after 48 hours. Derek whispered. You're bluffing. I pulled out the locksmith receipt, dated Friday. Try me. They went quiet. I walked to the door, paused, hand on the knob, and looked back one last time. You told me I could leave, I said. Then I opened the door. But you're the ones who'll be packing. Click. Door shut. I didn't look back. At 3:12 a.m., the first transfer came through. $3,000. From Mom. There it was. A message. Note. For everything. Hope it helps. I didn't grin. Didn't get mad either. Just took a screenshot, saved it in a fresh Google Drive folder, and renamed it. Dead accounts. A few hours later, right as the sun started creeping through the blinds, another one came in, $600. From Derek. I didn't know it hurt you this much. Then the third. No words. Just $2,000. That one was from Dad. Figures. Always more comfortable with numbers than conversations. Altogether, they sent $5,600. Which, when stacked up against the $114,000 I'd shelled out over 10 months, didn't even make a dent. This wasn't reimbursement. It was a peace offering. A guilt-wrapped bribe. A last-ditch attempt to buy their way back in. But I wasn't selling. 2 days before that, I'd finished the final piece of my plan, a 14-page document titled 10 Months of Loyalty, 1 Invoice. It was clean. Clinical. Almost surgical. Page by page I listed it all. Rent, $65,000. Utilities, $8,200. Groceries, delivery, and household goods, $10,600. Mom's prescriptions, copays, and rides to the doctor, $5,000. Derek's electronics, rideshares, subscription fees, $6,400. Loss bonuses, unpaid sick leave, therapy bills from burnout, $18,800. Total, $114,000. Repaid by family, $0. Funds received post-eviction, $5,600. Emotionally irrelevant. I attached it to 3 separate emails. Mom got hers through her old Gmail. Derek through Telegram. Dad, via the iCloud address I still had access to from back when I used to troubleshoot his phone. 3 minutes later, Mom called. I blocked her. Then I got to work. Unlinked every account. Cancelled every autopayment. Shut down the Netflix account they all mooched off. Deactivated the family cell plan Dad never once contributed to. Reset all my passwords. Upgraded every firewall I had. No more. Just until payday. No more. We're family. No more guilt-trip generosity. I opened a new savings account. Labeled it Emergency Fund, for me only. And for a little daily reminder, I changed my phone's wallpaper to plain white with black text. The last time I paid for peace, it cost $114,000. Never again. Of course, Mom tried one more time. She sent a message through her sister's account, like a teenager sneaking onto someone else's Wi-Fi. We didn't mean to hurt you. Please don't throw your family away. Derek feels terrible. Your father's ashamed. You always wanted distance. We just didn't think you meant this. I didn't respond with a long speech. Just attached one file. Paperclip lease termination signed.pdf. Stamped. Signed. Dated, the exact day they were told to pack up and leave. At the bottom, I'd scribbled in my own handwriting. This ends our legal, financial, and emotional contract. Goodbye. Sent. No replies after that. Derek went dark too, especially after I revoked his access to my PayPal. Yeah, I knew he'd been linking his Fortnite skins and battle passes to my account. Didn't say anything. Just cut it off with a single click. Before I wiped the thread, I forwarded those 3 apology transfers, every cent, to a youth housing charity. $5,600. Donation message. Let someone else start where I had to end. And then, silence. But not the suffocating kind I used to know. Not the awkward hush of 4 adults walking on eggshells in one too small apartment. This was real silence. Peaceful. I sat out on my balcony that weekend, sipping hot coffee, not the reheated kind. No voices behind the walls. No game screens shaking the floorboards. No passive-aggressive footsteps outside my room. Just traffic in the distance. And birds. My space. My key. My decision. I opened Google Drive, scrolled to the old folder full of their photos, messages, receipts, basically, every memory tied to them. Right-clicked. Move to trash. Pop-up said, "Are you sure you want to delete this folder?" I didn't blink. I'd already deleted myself from that life. They always used to call me the good one. Quiet. Reliable. The fixer. The one who always answered, always paid, always forgave. I used to think that meant strength. Now I know it just meant I was useful. And useful ain't love. Took me 10 months and 6 figures to realize that being needed doesn't mean being valued. That kindness without limits becomes a chain. That loyalty without boundaries becomes a trap. They never once asked if I was okay. Only ever asked what more I could give. And I gave. Money. My workspace. My peace of mind. My voice. Until the day I didn't. People think the big moments come with shouting. But sometimes, the biggest break is a whisper. Or a click. No revenge posts. No rage-fueled texts. No family airing on social media. Just a lease termination. A one-way file. A quiet exit. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. I kept thinking about that night I slept in my car. How it felt like I was crashing in a stranger's parking lot, when I'd paid every bill in that house. And I could still hear Mom's voice. "If you don't like living with family, you can leave." She didn't say it like a suggestion. She said it like a dare. So I took the dare. And I answered with silence. Now I don't wake up anxious. I don't scroll through a dozen messages. I finish my coffee before it goes cold. My shoes are where I left them. My groceries don't vanish in 2 days. My name isn't the punchline in their group chat. Because I'm not in it anymore. I used to think helping meant love. But they treated it like a tab I'd never stop paying. And maybe my real mistake wasn't the money. Maybe it was not saying no the first time they called me ungrateful. Maybe it was not leaving the first time they laughed behind my back. Maybe it was giving second chances when they didn't even appreciate the first. But that's what survival teaches you, how to hang on longer than you should. Even when the only time they call you family is when the check's due. I'm done hanging on. I'm not bitter. I'm better. Last step? I opened the one app one hadn't touched, the old family group chat. Dad hadn't said a word in weeks. Derek left the day they got evicted. Mom was still in there. Typing. I hovered over it. Pressed. Leave group. Confirm? Yes. The screen blinked. Then went still. And it felt like peace. Not loud. Not angry. Just mine.